tornadoes again, and that's when they can really get nasty. So we have to keep an eye on these closely to make sure that doesn't happen. But as of right now, everything is okay. We'll just kind of have to wait and see how everything plays out. So what you got over there, Jaden?
This is from Knox City Volunteer Fire Department. It says, Knox City, please stay indoors and stay in shelter in place because large damaging hail is in the city, so please do not go outside. That is a statement from Knox City Volunteer Fire Department.
I'll tell you what, Knox City has been under the gun today. That's been the spot, is about Knox City, and actually the area between Knox City and Burt Burnett's been the kind of the spot today. Cameron, you're the tracker. It looks like you may have a wall cloud on the horizon there. Tell our viewers where you're at, where you're going, and what your plan is.
Yep, Ken, we are on 368. We are going north, and it looks like there's a wall cloud, but again, it's very ragged, not very well structured, and we're on a very good trajectory to get right out ahead of this storm right now. We're moving kind of parallel with it, but we're going to set ourselves up so it will basically almost directly come right over us, but we have great visual on the storm right now, and something I've noticed is up north here, the air feels a little more ripe. I will put that comment out there. The air does feel a little more ripe compared to when we were down south. A little more humid, a little warmer up here. So maybe this could give these storms a little bit of an extra kick, as well as at the surface. There's a bit more spin at the Earth's surface up here as well. So maybe it was just waiting for these storms to get to a bit more of a better environment to give it a little bit more of a push. But that's what I've observed right now. We're going to watch this wall cloud and kind of keep moving with it. We have great road network now, so we're going to be able to move along with the storm as it does evolve. We'll keep an eye on this, see if this wall cloud is able to structure a little bit better. I know I keep saying wall cloud, so let's go ahead and take a closer look at that wall cloud. There it is right there. It's not the best looking, not the most structured, but it does look to be okay.
Exactly right, Cameron. We appreciate you for that. Make sure you stay safe as you're out there. But like you mentioned, it is starting to reorganize itself, and it's all it takes is just for it to get some warm air, and then it could be a different story. You know, we were saying these were outdraft dominant storms, but for the most part, you can see it starting to reorganize itself just from a little bit ago when Ken was up here talking. It's already a totally different picture here on velocity, looking at your velocity here in this storm system. But overall, if you're in Iowa Park, places like Burt Burnett, stay weather aware, okay? Because anything can happen with these storm systems. As of right now, there's no tornado threat. There's nothing on the ground or anything like that. But like I mentioned, these storm systems are starting to reorganize. And if you're in that location, you want to go ahead and make sure that you stay weather aware and have a safe place. Know where your safe place is. But overall, like I mentioned earlier, Knox City Volunteer Fire Department, they put out to please stay indoors and stay in shelter for large damaging hail in the city. So we take a look at reflectivity. And down there in Knox City, you can see they are getting heavy downpours of rain right now. It has moved out of there and moved into Monday as well as Hefner. But you can see that hail core within Hefner if we put this into motion. And you can see there's some large hail within that a little bit north of Monday, especially further up north along Highway 82. But overall, you can see that this storm system up north into Wichita County by Burt Burnett and Iowa City is starting to reorganize a little bit. And we can see, looking at velocity as well. And you can see there's a different picture right there, Ken. What you thinking about?
It's been trying. We saw that a minute ago. It's been trying to organize some, and you can stop that from spinning. And what I want you to do is follow me here for just a minute. I want to go just west of Burt Burnett. This is the area we're kind of watching. Let's kind of stop right there. First thing I want you to do is I want you to put on reflectivity for me. I want to see where our hook is. All right, so there's the hook. You can see the outflow boundary here. That's that rain-cooled air. I believe that it may be trying to feed into the storm a bit. Put the velocities back on if you could, please. And you definitely see your rotation into this area here. It's still not quite organized enough yet, I think, to produce a tornado. It could be getting there. It could be trying to. You do see a little bit of rotation, but I don't know that that's necessarily the right spot. The place that we would want to watch would be kind of right down in here. It's really close to trying to get itself better organized. This is not going to be far away. So there's Burt Burnett here. So it's not very far away from Burt, but it looks like, at least for now, this is going to pass just west of Burt. Cameron's got a good wall cloud on his camera shot there. Cameron, where are you at with that wall cloud at this time?
I'm on 368 right now. We are Chris, where would you say we are? We're a little north of...
We're about a mile and a half north of Bacon Switch Road on 368.
We're about a mile and a half north of Bacon Switch Road on 368. And yeah, that's a wall cloud right there. And I've been watching. It's you can see not so much anymore, but it was pulling in some moisture into that wall cloud. It was starting to structure itself a little bit. And we're kind of watching to see if this does want to try to spin up. You can actually see some rising motion in there right there. There you go. You can see a little bit of a... I don't want to say you call it scud, but you can see those clouds right there indicating some rising motion with that wall cloud right there. So we're keeping an eye to see if this does produce a tornado or not. But right now we do have a pretty decent looking wall cloud on stream right now.
I've seen so in a while, Cameron, as far as a wall cloud goes. I don't see any discernible funnels dropping off of it. But if you use your if you look there closely, you can see the little spin down there on the cloud. And, I just walked outside a minute ago, and boy, it is incredibly humid out there, and it is windy. So it is definitely pumping in a lot of moisture into these storms here. And it feels like to me the wind shear has increased. I think the tornado environment is pretty ripe at this hour. So if these storms can maintain what we call surface base, being able to tap into that warm, moist air at the Earth's surface without getting cut off by these outflow boundaries, then I think that they do have a chance to produce. All right, what you got, Jay?
Yeah, Cameron, what are you seeing right now again? Go ahead.
While Ken was talking, if you can watch, you can on the camera, you can see this thing spinning. It's got some pretty good spin to it right now, and you still have more rising motion going into this wall cloud right now, right there on the right, that little bit of a tail or a comma look. More rising motion going into this, and if we zoom out, you can visibly see the rotation of this on your camera right now.
What's your location once again, Cameron?
About a mile and a half north of Bacon Switch Road on 368 right now, Jaden.
You're kind of just south of Burt Burnett then, right?
Yes, yes.
We'll walk over on here. Widen this a little bit, Cameron. Let's just go a little bit wider out so we can show our viewers what's going on. This is definitely a scary looking cloud. So if you take a look here, when you want to watch for a wall cloud, you look at the cloud kind of leaning down. This would be your warm, moist air feeding into the storm. That's your inflow part of it here. And then on the back side of it, you get that sinking air. It's called the RFD, the rear flank downdraft. Now, this is the best wall cloud I've seen in a while. I hadn't seen. It's been a minute since we've seen one that looks as good as these do. And you can see it trying. There's another one there. So in this area, it looks like to me that's trying to get us active. Folks, you can really see. And again, this is going to be just southwest of Burt Burnett. Cameron, that's got some good spin to it, doesn't it?
Oh, Ken, this thing has some great spin on it. I mean, it's not as visible on the camera, but you can see this thing. This thing is really starting to spin. It's trying to get going, Ken.
Burt Burnett.
I'm going to draw it up for you really quick here. From downtown Burt Burnett, proper, about 9 miles southwest of Burt Burnett proper right now, Ken.
Say, just based upon what I'm seeing on radar, that cloud, that rotating part of the cloud is probably going to miss Burt Burnett. Do you think that is accurate?
Say that one more time, Ken. You cut out a little bit. We're in a bit of a spotty internet spot here.
The trajectory of the storm on radar, it looks like that part, which is the rotating part, is going to go just west of Burt Burnett. Is that an accurate statement from your vantage point as well?
Yeah, Ken, I think Burt Burnett's a little bit more in play, but I do believe, it looks like it's almost like it's surging on the back end of this storm. But I do believe with the way the storm motion is right now, I do believe this will go just west, if not northwest of Burt Burnett, looking based off radar and what I'm seeing right now.
It's the Red River from there. So, all right, well, Cameron, we got your shot up. We'll come back to you here in a minute, buddy. I'll stay safe out there, but stay up with it too, and we'll come back to you here in a minute. All right, let's go back to the radar. And let's stop it right there, Jane. Look at the spin. You can really see it. You see it visually on our tracker camera, and you can also see it visually on radar. You can see that spin now. You got your wind, and you can still not see solid areas, though. It's just trying really hard. Folks, that tells you how organized, how strong the shear is in the atmosphere today. It's fighting up against these storms have been fighting up against other things, other elements that have probably prevented them from producing much. But there's so much strong spin in the atmosphere that they're able to still spin, but they're just not quite able to organize just yet. And you see what I'm talking about. You just don't. It tries, but it just doesn't wrap together. So far, so good. Latest update on radar, we look pretty good. Put the just regular velocity on. Let me see if there's a different look in that, and it looks about the same. But there's multiple areas in here where there could be some rotation. But overall, reflectivity here too, Jaden. Overall, this is, not producing anything yet. There's your hook on it. So Iowa Park, this is north of you. The hook is north of Buffalo Creek Reservoir. And if we look up towards Burt Burnett, there's Burt Burnett on the side of the screen there. And if we look, this is where our rotation is back in here, and it's going to just barely pass west of Burt Burnett. Now, Burt Burnett, we don't want to let our guard down. We want to keep an eye on this closely. But at least as of right now, the spinning part, and there's a bit of a hook there, is going to go just barely past Burt Burnett. But you jump north of the Red River, there's Randelette. The casinos are up here near Duval, and this is headed right at those areas, headed right at the casinos. So I'm sure that our friends up there at the casinos are probably getting their employees and the people up there playing, probably keeping them informed and keeping them into safe places as well. But that's where it's at this point in time. Jaden, I want you to widen this a little bit, and let's look at some other storms out there too. A lot of them now are beginning to organize down to the south and southwest. We're looking at storms. Basically, there's some supercells that have developed north of Stanford. Those are going to move northeast. They'll probably wind up merging with this line of thunderstorms I would expect at some point this evening. But places like Throckmorton, over in Archer County, Graham, these areas, you've been untouched, and there's been no severe weather over here at all. But as these storms make their way northeastward, we'll have to start watching some of this area down here to make sure that they don't start to spin and rotate as well. I still feel pretty certain that at some point all this is going to grow up scale into one solid line. And we've kind of seen that happen some in this area here. And if that can happen, then we see the tornado threat not completely go away, but we see the threat for the larger, more violent tornadoes go down. Fortunately, you got something?
Yeah, I'm saying it looks like that cell further down south near Stanford is starting to merge with the one near Knox City as well. So
yeah,
if that's the case, that's
I think that that's probably what we're seeing. We've been seeing the transition to that all afternoon, and that's really been a good thing. Back into here again. This is where our tornado warning is at. Let's stop it from moving. There's your big hook echo. This is your northern cell. Let's look at the velocities, and then we're going to go to Cameron here in just a minute and take a look. You have still nothing that shows sign. This is still not a tornadic signature on radar. You do see the rotation. Cameron, you've got some nice wall clouds there on your shot there. What are you seeing from your vantage point there?
Yeah, Ken, got a nice little wall cloud on the shot right now, but something. If you look at velocities on the radar, there's been some kinks in that storm. It's almost like a linear look, where you're seeing some kinks because I've kind of almost seen spots of multiple wall clouds. So the main wall cloud's going to be up here further north of where we're at right now. Now off to the west, though, or south of the storm, there's been some moments right within here where it's trying to show a wall cloud forming, and then off to the further south of the storm, there's been other signs of a wall cloud trying to come together. But the dominant wall cloud is off to our north, right over through those trees right there. So we're currently still pushing north on 368, getting back up with this storm right now. And we're going to see if this wall cloud wants to produce anything. And, it's the cool thing, or the interesting thing, I should say, is that something we've noticed while we're out here is that we get to an area where it feels like it's kind of ripe for good thunderstorm development. And as the second that RFD starts to come in, we start to see the RFD, it cools down drastically fast. And that's, it's just part of the process of the RFD pulling in that cooler air around the storm, but it just shows that there is some cooler, and I do think that is still hurting these storms from getting going, and it's just still kind of been that back and forth battle of these storms picking up intensity, and then they drop off with rotation. So looks like there's something at the Earth's surface that is cutting off these storms, like you mentioned. Could be the outflow boundary that is preventing these storms from getting the surface-based rotation that it needs to produce a tornado. But so we're going to continue pushing north on 368, stay with these storms. Looks like we're getting into some rain right now, but that is the general picture we have going on from the tracker right now, Ken.
Radar, and there's something in the atmosphere that's called veer back veer. And if we go back over the radar, we'll talk about this some here. So, a storm, when we want to look at the rotation in a thunderstorm or an atmosphere that produces rotation, you want to look at what's called a hodograph. And the hodograph will show the spin and the way the atmosphere would look if you could look at it in a 3-dimension. So the hodograph has to stay perfect in order for these storms to not only rotate a lot, but to also produce those storms down at the Earth's surface. Well, when you start to get veer back veer, what happens is you have a situation where at the Earth's surface, the winds will be out of the south. Then you'll go up into the lower parts of the atmosphere, and they veer around to the southwest, okay? And that causes the hodograph to turn. But then you get above that to the mid-levels of the atmosphere, and the winds begin to back this way. So you'll go from literally a southeast wind to a southwest wind, back to a southeast wind. Then you go back above that, and it goes back to a westerly wind. It causes the hodograph to look funky. And it can cause these storms to become messy, and it can cause them to become outflow dominant, and that may be what's happened. Listen, early on, the shear was great, but you're beginning to see the system now, the main upper air system coming from the west, and the mid-level flow in the atmosphere is starting to back a little bit more like this, and I think that's probably what's happened, a little veer back veer. You can still get tornadoes with it. That's not lessening the environment at all. But you still see that, but you're also seeing some outflow dominant modes here in the storms, and I think that might be our saving grace here this afternoon and early this evening. Like I say, I'm not ready to let our guard down. Even as we transitioned into a line of storms this evening and overnight tonight, there's still going to be the threat for what we call QLCS type tornadoes. They develop, but then the line itself is called a quasi-linear convective system, and you still get kinks in the lines, and you can still get brief spin-ups. And as of right now, you do still see these areas of rotation, but there's just nothing significant here at all that suggests that this thing is producing tornadoes. You do see some areas where it's little spots where it's trying to be tighter, but nothing here suggests that this is about to produce a big tornado. So if you're in Bourbonnette, we're still watching you, but it looks like the worst is to the west. There's your outflow boundary. That's moving east, and if that moves over you and you get cooler air, tornado threat's done. So we'll watch it and see. You still got this little part up here to the north. It's about to cross the Red River and head up here into Tillman and Cotton County. You're next. We'll watch you up there. You know, Oklahoma is that sweet spot for whatever reason, if you want to call it that. But when these storms get up here in Oklahoma, for whatever reason, a lot of times they start producing up there. So we'll have to just keep an eye on that and see what indeed does happen. So, Cameron, do you got anything else going on? Looks like some little funnels maybe trying to drop down, maybe?
A wall cloud trying to come together, or it very well could be a funnel as well. That's pretty far north of us right now. We're pushing north right now as well. But something kind of interesting you can see the structure of the storm. What you see on reflectivity, you can see. So there's your forward flanking downdraft, and then here comes the RFD. You can see that curve of the RFD coming on the backside of the storm. But yeah, what we're watching is it doesn't look as impressive on radar. It did lose some of its notches, so it doesn't it doesn't mean it's taking in that warm, moist air, but again, trying to maybe see some funnels or a wall cloud trying to come together once again. That right there looks to be the most potent one right within there, but we'll keep an eye on that, see if it does try to produce anything. But again, it's just been this back and forth. It picks up, starts to lower. You can see, actually looks like it's doing it right now, where it starts to lower, and then just like that, it's gone. It's just how it's been this evening. And however, we are getting into the later hours of the night, and something worth mentioning is that we're about to start seeing the low-level jet kick in, which is winds that are a little bit above the Earth's surface, and those happen at night as the Earth cools. Those start to intensify, and that could give some extra spin towards the Earth's surface.
We were actually talking about that a few minutes ago, how, you know, the evening time is that time you have to really watch out for. It's still got a nice structure on the reflectivity here, and I still believe that the threat is still there. I don't know that it's going to be, you know, it's not there yet, but there's still signs that it's still trying to organize. You can almost see the kink here in the storm. So we're on the radar right now, by the way. This is going to be a bit of a push out of wind, and oftentimes as you see this starting to bow out here, it might help give a little bit of a nudge, and you might wind up seeing some of these try to wrap back in some here. So we don't want to let our guard down. This is northwest of Bourbonnette. You got some pretty strong winds trying to flow into it out ahead of it here, and it's really humid over into this area too. So you know, the next spots that we're going to watch for, you know, this to perhaps impact. Headed right at Duval and Randolette. So if you're in Duval or Randolette, those are the areas that you need to kind of keep an eye on. So far, so good. We've been okay. We haven't seen anything too major. Matter of fact, you know, the way this looks, you know, it now looks like it could cross at least, this isn't a tornado yet, but it does look like at least northwest Burke. Cameron, looks like you got some pretty good inflow there on your tower cam shot there.
right there on the far right do have some inflow flowing into the storm right now. Maybe another wall cloud that is, again, trying to come together. Let me see if I can swap the cameras over here really quick. But yeah, it looks like there is some inflow trying to go into these storms. This one might not be as good, but you know, we're watching to see if these can build together a wall cloud. There you go, right there, right in the center of your screen right there is another, looks like another wall cloud coming together. And it's just been a difficult back and forth battle for this atmosphere, Ken. So we're going to pull off here for a few minutes and watch to see if this wall cloud can continue to structure. We've seen this about 10 times a day where the wall cloud starts to come together. By the time it comes together, it's quickly falling apart. So we'll watch. You also got some other interesting features out here. That's inflow right there, and then off to the further east, you got another, maybe something trying to drop down out of the sky right out there in the distance. But the main focus right now will be on this wall cloud, and we are currently about due west of Berkman. We're almost on to 240 right now, so that's where we're at right now. We might go a little east, kind of get into a tricky road situation because we are getting close to the Red River, and there's only so many bridges that we can cross into Oklahoma. So we'll have to see if we want to cross into Oklahoma or not, or keep an eye on these southern storms as these do push through across south of the river.
You know, we can always come back if we need to, but I really believe that those are the more intense storms. Matter of fact, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning now for Wichita County, and I'll talk about that here in just a moment. That does include Wichita Falls. It looks like what we have going on is going to be mostly a hail threat coming in to Wichita Falls, maybe. So, but we've been real focused on the storm there. You can see the spin, you can see the broad rotation with it, and we've had Cameron's wall cloud several times, but you know, nothing that's gotten super close to the ground. And you really got to see these winds wrap up, and it's really trying too hard, but I still believe there's storm interference down to the south that's kind of prevented that. So let's stop this and let's go down here. Whoops, there's our tornado watch. Let's go down here to the south if we could. And so we got a bit of a hook echo here too, so we don't want to let our guard down on that. That's moving more east than it is northeast. Let me see. Let's put our severe thunderstorm warning on there so I can show you where there's so many of them out there. But there's your severe thunderstorm warning for this next area. And the severe thunderstorm warning box would include Wichita Falls, Iowa Park, down towards the northern side of Archer County. It would include Holiday, Lakeside City, Dundee, those areas, Cadane Corner. This is some pretty big hail, and that's moving more east than it is northeast. Now let's see if there is any signs of rotation within the storms there. And remember, I believe that these are outflow dominant, and it looks like to me that's still the case. I believe that these are producing outflow winds, and as of right now, that is showing no signs of spin. But if something changes, we can get on here real fast and let you know. But that's something to watch over as it heads towards Wichita Falls, because that one will impact Wichita Falls. Right now, it looks like more of a hail threat than it does a tornado threat. Up to the north there into the Burkburnett area, that is some really strong winds. It looks like the shear is really increasing in that storm. It's not wrapping up yet, though, but it is really trying to just a hair northwest of Burkburnett. We don't have the tight circulation showing up on radar at this time. It's still pretty broad, but you've got strong winds wrapping around on the backside of your updraft. Your updraft is somewhere in this area here. So you got the back winds here. There's your rear flank downdraft pushing on out. There's your little outflow boundary. Here's your inflow winds trying to suck into it. All it's going to have to take is for this RFD to kick in here and to pull these winds back, and then we got a tornado on our hands. It's still broad, but it's probably the best organization, at least from a velocity standpoint, that I've seen in quite some time here on the radar with this particular storm. There's some pretty strong inflow winds now coming into it, and there's, it's just not super tight yet. There's your latest update. This is something here, but I believe that that's probably going to be side load contamination. I don't know for certain. I believe that this is the area we were more concerned with, but it is trying to get better organized, but it's still not quite there just yet. If I'm up here in Duval, southeast of Granfield, Randelette, these areas, you're going to want to keep an eye on this part of the storm. No new warnings out yet. Maybe a severe thunderstorm warning. I took the severe thunderstorm warnings off because it just was so many of them. It was hard to do any storm analysis with it. But it definitely got some strong winds, perhaps blowing into the storm from Burkburnett. So if you're down here in Burkburnett, you probably got strong inflow winds, I would think. sucking on back off to the northwest there. And again, it's a little bit disorganized still, but there's your broad rotation there on the north side of the storm.
And Kim, when you mentioned RFD, could you explain to the viewers what that means? I know a lot of people are out there asking, what is he talking about when he
I've
says
explained
RFD?
it. We've explained it. I've explained it several times, but I know not everybody is on here that's going to that listens to and has been watching the whole time. So yeah, I will explain what the RFD is, and it's very confusing, and it can be very confusing, but. The RFD is the rear flank downdraft of the storm, okay? And it's very important. It plays a key role in a storm producing a tornado, okay? So I'm going to walk back over here to the screen, and we'll kind of talk about it a little bit here. So when you get these storms that spin and rotate, all right, you got the updrafts in the storms. They spin and they rotate, all right? You got upper level winds that are blowing into the storm. And as those winds interact with those spinning updrafts, it almost acts like a bit of a rubber band. And the spinning updraft causes those mid-level winds to pull back around and then drop down. It forces them down out of the storm on the rear of it, and then the circulation helps pull it back around. As that happens, it helps to increase the spin in the thunderstorm. Sometimes as those winds come down, it's interacting with too much cool air, and it'll wind up choking the thunderstorm off. But if those storms can continue to wrap up, and you can continue to see that RFD pull on around and wrap around, very important. As that wraps on around and everything comes together, you can get a tornado. That's when you see tornado genesis, or that's when you see the tornado develop, is when that RFD wraps on around the storm. This is going to be cool air. That's rain-cooled air, but you still see the suck, the bit of a pull motion into the storm here, back off to the west and to the northwest. Broad rotation, your updraft is there, there's your spin, and then there's your inflow, there's your outflow. So watch, just see if this thing can tighten up. As of right now, it's not doing so. Cameron, you've got the tracker feed up. Where are you? It's like you may be going through Burt now, but what are you seeing from your vantage point at this point in time?
Yeah, Ken, we are currently going through Burke right now. Not a ton to see at this given moment. We do have a lot of buildings around us and such, but we are going to hop on the highway for a little bit and go into Oklahoma, go towards Randelette / Duval, and we're going to cut the storm off there. Just got to take ourselves out of position just a hair, but we're going to still have a good visual on the storm. It looks like right there, that looks like it's kind of hard to discern. You got some rising motion with that for sure, but I don't see any wall clouds from my vantage point. Like I said, we're kind of in downtown Burkman, so it does make it a little bit more difficult to see into the sky the way we need to.
All right, well, it looks like the tornado warning for that cell is going to be dropped, and the Weather Service is going to replace it with just a severe thunderstorm warning. So I want to kind of reset the situation before I jump off here. As of right now, this is what we got going on here. I'm taking the warnings off so I can show you kind of an analysis of what's going on. There's your band of severe thunderstorms at this point in time. You got your lead supercell up here. You've got other strong storms kind of embedded within this area down here, but there's your band. And in time, I think it'll continue to move in this direction here, but in time it'll get a bit of a push off to the east. There's some little showers trying to develop out ahead of it, but that's nothing to be concerned with. But in time, these are going to continue to get pushed. And I think that we're probably continuing, we've been seeing this for a while now, kind of a transition to what we call a line echo wave pattern. And, you still got the opportunity for tornadoes that can develop with any supercells embedded within that. And with any little kinks in the line, you can still see that too. But I think our threat is becoming more of a wind threat here soon. And maybe still a tornado threat with some of these supercells. We're not certainly going to let our guard down, but there's a new tornado warning, so we're not going to jump off just yet. But there's your new tornado warning that's popped out there for, it does include Burke Burnett and then up here in the southern parts of Cotton County. And it would include Duval and Randelette, Cookietown and Walters, those areas. This will go south of Lawton. I think Lawton's okay. I think these storms, at least the worst of the storms are going to pass just southeast of Lawton. Now, Duncan, we're going to have to watch you to make sure that nothing crazy happens, as these storms may make their way up towards you in a couple of hours. So we're watching that, a little rotation there, and then you got this big blob of heavy thunderstorms with heavy rain and hail down here into Wichita County. Those are starting to push, have a little more of a push to the east there. There may be a little shower over Wichita Falls soon, but those are not severe. But as this next blob comes in, there could be some really heavy rainfall. In addition to that, there could be some strong gusty winds with it. I do not think that the tornado threat is very high with this cluster of thunderstorms here. There's nothing that shows any signs of this producing any type of super strong rotation. There's a little bit in there. There's some strong winds that are showing up in there. All right, so we got the National Weather Service says now that a tornado is imminent northwest of Burkburnett by about 4 or 5 miles. There it is on radar. It's trying to come together. Cameron Lindsay, let's go to you and the Comanche Nation Entertainment First Alert Storm Tracker. Where are you at right now, Cameron? And Weather Service says a tornado is developing. The radar signature looks a little bit better than it did. I still don't see a super tight couplet yet, but what are you seeing from your vantage point?
Yeah, Ken, so we just got on I-44, and we're going to be going to Randalet. We're only about 5 minutes from Randalet to get out ahead of the storm right now, and not great visual at this moment right now. We are in relation to the storm. We're kind of on the southeast side of where your tight rotation would be, so we have to get to a better position. So we're going to get off of I-44 in only like 5 minutes, and then from that we can probably cut a little bit westward, and we do have, looks like, still good favorable road networks out there, very much that grid pattern that makes it easy for storm chasing, but not a ton of to see. But what we did notice when we did have some sort of extra, starting to see some inflow kick in. You can see you can feel it against the tracker, the air being pulled into the storm right now. But again, we're still on that southeast side of the storm, so we're only about 5 minutes away from being in a better position of seeing into the storm once again. But we'll keep an eye on this, keep an eye out for any type of tornado. I did hear you make that comment about a tornado imminent, so we'll see. It's got some really tight wrapping around going on, so we're just have to watch and just keep an eye on this thing.
Tight. Let's go back over to the radar here, and this is right about, it's crossing the Red River now. This is probably into the Duval and Duval area, so up there around the casinos, but you can really see the spin. This still doesn't look to me like it's producing a tornado yet, but this is really, guys, this is really sucking a lot of strong winds. This could develop into a tornado quickly, though, the way the radar signature looks at this time. This is northwest of Burkburnett. If you're in Burkburnett, you're getting outflow winds. You're getting the RFD, the rear flank downdraft, is pushing some of that rain-cooled air over you. So you're seeing gusty winds. That is not tornadic circulation. But this here is getting pushed back and wrapped back into the storm. And as this continues to get pushed back in, we'll have to wait and see if this continues to develop, because it certainly could continue to do that. We've got the camera feed up there. I don't see anything dropping out. As of right now, you don't see a super tight couplet. And by a couplet, you want to see these greens and these reds right next to each other. You see them up here, but that's not what we're looking for, okay? That's just the interaction between the motion of the storm and some of the inflow coming into it. The area you have to watch is underneath. That's where the tornado develops, is underneath that spinning updraft. So that's where we're watching, is crossing the river. There is Randalet. Duval is right in this area too, and it's going to be very close to that. And then it's going to track right up here, right along Interstate 44 and across parts of Cotton County. This is just barely nipping southeast Tillman County. This is almost out of Wichita County. Right now, it looks to me like the threat for a tornado in Burkburnett is going to be very low. I think it's passing by you just barely off to the northwest. I don't see a tornado yet developing in this, but it certainly is trying to wrap up here. Cameron, looks like it's wrapping up pretty good on radar. What about from your vantage point?
We're close to the storm at the moment, but we're getting in a better position where we can start to see where we do see that tight clump up right now, but might be starting to see something right within here. That's right there, lines up right where that notch is. So might be seeing some rotation within that. Could be a wall cloud, if not a potential tornado. You can still see some inflow pulled into the storm, and that's another thing. These storms are inflow rich. The second you get near them, you feel them really pulling in a lot of air with them. You can see that reflected on the radar as well. So we're only about 5 minutes away from being in that position. We're getting off towards Randalet, but we're probably going to take a little bit further north and west as well to get a better position on the storm. So we'll keep you updated and see if this does produce anything. But right now, I don't have anything to report on in terms of seeing a tornado or anything significant at this time.
I mean, it would be wrapped in that rain there, but there could be something wrapped in that there too. So this is up there, and I think he's passing the casino at this time. So it looks like that's just going to be right behind the casino. But it definitely looks like you can see the wraparound. You can see the motions and the storms I've been talking about there, the winds, the clouds, the way they look. but you know, you're not going to be able to see a tornado in this. I think it's going to be too wrapped in rain. Let's go full screen with the radar here, and you can really see that spin. There's your possible tornado. And now let's kind of stop things. I want to go down here and look too. You do see some type of a spin that's showing up down here towards Cadane Corner, just southwest of Wichita Falls. You definitely see some different wind speeds in here. I would think that this is mostly going to be outflow, but we need to watch this area just on the other side of Cadane Corner, because there is some of these colors starting to kind of show up together, and you do now have a hook echo there just on the south or the west side of Holiday. There is a bit of a hook, and we are seeing a little increasing sign of rotation down here now. So just north of Holiday, and this is just right outside of Wichita Falls there. Again, there's a lot of different things going on in the atmosphere, and it's really difficult. Let's take off a lot of these warnings here, Jaden. I saved a spot down here on the palette where we don't have all those warnings on here all the time, so we can show them a little bit better. But you know, just putting this in motion, you can see how that's trying to come together, and you're seeing a little bit. And unfortunately, that's about to come right over Wichita Falls. Let's hope that we're not going to see a tornado warning come out for that. Let's hope it stays severe. I'm reading the Weather Service here. I don't see anything else coming from there. Not talking about that one yet, but we are keeping a very close eye on this storm here at this time. I don't see anything that's imminent, so don't get super worried about it. But there has been a little bit of a hook down here on the storm. It has gotten a little bit better organized, and that's about to move right across the city here shortly. So the hook echo part of this storm is just north of Holiday, and that's where you might see a little bit of rotation just north of Holiday. That is going to be moving. It's moving almost east-northeast, and that is going to move right across Wichita Falls shortly. Let me go to my Wichita Falls tower cam and see if we got anything here from that vantage point. Let's see about kind of, and like I've been saying all afternoon here, it is very difficult to see because of all the haze in the atmosphere. It's very difficult to see anything here today. But I am kind of scanning around, and it's going to come from the western direction. That's kind of looking kind of back off to the west-northwest, but as of right now, it's going to be difficult to see it because of all the haze that's out there. All this humidity oftentimes does create that. So. Let's go back over to the radar here, and there are all of the warnings. Look at all the warnings down. There's a bunch of severe thunderstorm. Basically, anywhere in that line, severe thunderstorm warnings. So we can go back to, and we told you this was going to be a long day, and it has indeed been a long day already, and it's not going to end, folks. We got just severe weather that lasts into the night. Even though I think that as we get into the night, we're going to see less of a tornado threat and more of a wind threat, but. You know, looking at that down there, there's still some rotation showing up there. There's a bit of a tight rotation showing up now. It looks like, and there's no tornado warning for this yet, but it is spinning some, and it looks to me like any type of rotation within this part of the storm, it's moving more northeast than east now. That means that's going to go over the northwest side of Wichita Falls here soon. So while we're not in a tornado warning in Wichita Falls, this is just a severe thunderstorm warning. We still have to watch it closely to make sure this thing doesn't begin to try to wrap up any, because it certainly could, and then we'd be looking at something that threaten Wichita Falls. Right now, the threat in Wichita Falls is some gusty winds and hail, and then you got up north, and you can see that circulation there crossing the Red River. They're trying really hard. And this is wrapped in rain, trying really hard to tighten up, and it's getting close. It's really getting close. You can really see the spin on it on the radar and how everything is right near Duval at this time. The Weather Service says tornado imminent with that. It's very close, people. Really close to seeing a tornado develop right in this area. Based upon radar, I don't think it's down yet, but it's going to be enshrouded in rain. You're not going to be able to see it. But there looks like there's a little bit of a pretty good spin here just south of Duval, and it's going to move right over or right behind the casinos, and from there it's going to jump up north of Randolette and head towards Cookietown. So we'll see if this thing begins to spin up. Right now there's no tornado with it, at least based upon radar signatures, but it is really trying very, very hard to do so. You almost got a bit of a comma head. You almost got some strong winds down here. There's your strong. This is pulling strong inflow into the storm here. That's that strong inflow, and it's wrapping it on back around. There it is. Now we got what looks like a developing tornado. Let's stop that, and let's go into Duval here if we could. And you can see the, remember how it's been just kind of just broad, but now it's gotten tight. Cameron, Lindsay, let's go to you. Let's go double screen here. Cameron, looks like we got a developing tornado on radar. Finally got a tight couplet near Duval. It's wrapped in rain, but can you see anything from your vantage point?
Ken, if you look at the camera, you can tell there's not much to be seen because, like you said, this thing is absolutely wrapped in rain. We're currently on Highway 70 in Oklahoma, about 2 miles west of I-44 right now. About, let's draw it up here, about 3 or 4 miles southeast of Duval right now. If we were to keep going on this road, we could go right through Duval. But right now, this is, you can see there's nothing to see. This thing is absolutely wrapped in rain. We're in the inflow right now. You can feel the wind being sucked on into it. And also, just a notification, Ken, this is now officially a confirmed tornado right now. This is, in fact, a confirmed tornado now, Ken.
We got a tornado on the ground there. Media has reported a tornado on the ground there. Near a video of it crossing the Red River there into Oklahoma. So this is a confirmed tornado now near Duval. We've been watching it here for a minute there, and there's been some there is some chasers on it that are actually seeing it live right now. So definitely a tornado on the ground. That's what that pink color means there. That means tornado confirmed. Tornado confirmed there near Duval. This is actually going to be very close to the casinos there into southern Oklahoma. I told you earlier, Oklahoma always seems to get those spots. So as of right now, there is at least the potential for this to continue to remain on the ground, and there's potential for this to continue to head up towards Cookietown. And Cameron, you're in a lot of rain. We're not going to see it there from that vantage point for certain. I honestly don't know how the chaser got the video. I really don't, because it is so wrapped in rain. You almost have to be right by it to see it. But, definitely, at least from our vantage point, you cannot see it there because of the heavy, heavy rainfall that this is producing. Even on radar, this thing is so wrapped in rain, I don't understand how anybody got that. So I'd have to see a video of it. I could definitely believe it on radar, but I'd have to see the video of it to believe it. So down in the Wichita Falls, heavy rain, wind, no tornado threat there at this time. The only tornado that I really see there on the radar is this there near Duval. That's our tornado, and you can certainly see the little spin. It looks like, though, it's been trying, but you'll see it kind of get strong. It looks like it might have dissipated again. Hard to say, but again, you've got a little bit of a tornadic swirl there near Duval at this time. That's where it's at. You can really see the inflow into that thunderstorm. Boy, that's a big time inflow. You don't see it like this that often, but that is the inflow going into the storm and pushing back on the backside. That's your rear flank downdraft in there. And the latest image does show the storm a little bit more ragged. I believe that this touchdown, it wasn't down long. It was only down for just a minute. There's still a little bit of a tight couplet in there, but it doesn't look as organized as it did. So I'm going to say right now, if there is something on the ground here, it's probably pretty small, kind of east of Duval. Probably whatever it was, touched down briefly and then kind of hot back up. But we still got the spin. We've still got to worry about this area back here, at least for a little while longer, as it still tries to make its way up to the north through Cotton County, Cookietown, these areas. So there's your tornado warning there. And again, this is observed. The tornadic portion of the storm is going northwest of Randelette. Randelette, you're going to be fine. But it's Duval and up towards Cookietown, and kind of expand this a little bit. And we can see the warning does go up towards Walters. So if you track this kind of goes up into this direction towards Walters. But it would probably be closer to about 8 o'clock before it got there. This should pass south of Lawton. Let's go back down here in the Wichita Falls and kind of look at this storm. Let's go back to reflectivity. No signs of tornadic circulations here, but you do have a hook, so we'll have to continue to watch that. So over Iowa Park at this hour, you've got heavy rain, thunder, lightning. It is pouring down rain, and we're probably going to see flooding. There's a lot of flood warnings out there, but as this area shifts eastward, there will probably be more training, and we'll probably see more flood threats throughout the evening and night. This also extends up towards Burt Burnett. Heavy rain. This is not tornadic up towards Burt Burnett. From Wichita Falls, the city here, Lakeside City, the storm that prompted the warning is just east of us. There's the Wichita River, and there's your hook basically along the Wichita River. Now, you got some bigger hailstones, probably up to a size, maybe a size of nickels or quarters, just southwest of Iowa Park that will be moving over Iowa Park shortly. So you'll probably see the hail pick up here momentarily. Let's put the velocities on here, Jaden, and let's see what that looks like. It's a mess. It's very disorganized. I don't see anything in there that shows signs of rotation, but it is something we'll have to keep an eye on as it crosses 44 and goes on the north side of the Shepherd Air Force Base. Should go south of Burt Burnett, at least the Hook Echo part, or it may brush the southern side of Burt Burnett. Then it's going to go over here into the northwestern parts of Clay County. Let's put the reflectivity back on, and let's go back up there to, let's kind of widen it, Jaden, and tell me a little bit about what all else is going on down there, not just in Oklahoma, but we've also got numerous severe thunderstorm warnings down this line.
Yeah, we don't see really just a single supercell further down south. We said earlier that we're going to see a line of storms move into across Texoma later on this evening, and that's the HER model kind of did a good job about predicting that, and that's
very
kind of
good.
what
Yeah.
we're seeing right now for our southern cells down further south. So not one supercell like I mentioned, but you can see near Haskell, you're about to get heavy downpours of rain near Knox City, Benjamin, Seymour. It is coming down, and with that comes the flood advisories. So just be prepared for flooding. But, I would say, I don't know, you can agree with me or not, Ken, but further down south with this line of storms here, you could get an embedded tornado, but the risk has gone down for.
Oh, well, you're still seeing some supercell structures down there, but as this thing just continues to grow upscale the way it is, I just believe that our threat is more going to be heavy rain and wind. It's going to be a very stormy evening across a good part of Texoma and stormy night. You can't rule out something that could spin up in some of this, but I think the threat for violent tornadoes is a lot less with the signatures like this. Now, we still do see some tornadic or some supercell structures here with some of these thunderstorms, especially the one about to move into Wichita Falls. Let me see if I can get, and like I say in all afternoon, whenever I pull the tower cam here in Wichita Falls, we can hardly see anything, even though it's not that far away. Most of the time you can see this stuff, but man, it is so humid and so hazy outside, it's real hard to see anything. We can try to zoom in a little bit closer. But, you can see the haze in the background there, and it makes it hard to see. So, it's basically useless. And, Cameron's been doing a good job out there, but it's been hard to see from his vantage point as well because of the nature of these storms being, as what they are, which is mostly what we call high precipitation, which means a lot in the way of, so it looks like we got an uprooted tree along 25 just southeast of Duval, uprooted tree there. But nothing else. That's the only thing I have to report there. All right, back over to the radar. Dan, we've been on for a long time here, man.
Yeah, we have.
Been on a long time. But, we knew it was going to be one of those days. Fortunately, it hasn't been any worse than it is, so we're thankful for that. But we're watching these storms closely. They're all in this. Now, there is a supercell down here near Haskell, but it's going to do the same thing the rest of these storms have done, and they're going to merge with this line of thunderstorms. I believe we're beginning to see our upper air storm system begin to kick out now, and that's going to help give this line a bit of a push. So that'll probably begin to push further to the east. So no rotation, but you do see somewhat supercell structures there. Moving on the northwest side of Wichita Falls, I'm going to look and see if there's any type of rotation in theirs, and you don't really see that. And it looks like the tornado that did happen up towards Duval has dissipated. No more tornado there. In fact, the rotation on the radar in that part of the storm looks a lot less organized as it did. In fact, I don't even see anything up there that suggests that this is about to produce a tornado again. So while we're not going to say all clear, but we are going to say the threat has greatly gone down now in Cotton County. So if you're in Walters, Cookietown, yes, this did produce a tornado, but it did so just after it crossed the Red River. It was brief, and it has certainly has weakened a lot since then. So I do not think this is producing a tornado at this time. We go down to the south, and we follow our storms down into Wichita County, and these are not tornadic either. but we'll make sure that they don't, start going tornadic as they do so. But Jaden, that's really it, as far as these storms go. They're not really spinning a whole lot now, thankfully.
Now just a wind and hail threat.
Yeah, we still can't rule out and let our guard down, about tornadic activity. Okay, we can't do that. But it just appears to me as though these are going to be a situation where the tornadic activity that we see, as long as we don't get supercells, will be mostly of the weaker spin-up type variety, as opposed to the bigger, more violent stuff like we would get with supercells. Now, there are storms that are trying to develop, out ahead of the main line, but they have not been able to do much. So, like I say, we're not letting our guard down by any means, but it appears as though to me that the tornado threat there with that thunderstorm into the southern parts of Cotton County has greatly diminished. Cameron, it looks like things have wound down, have really calmed down as far as any tornado potential with that storm. From your vantage point, you seen the same?
Yeah, we're kind of been stuck in the inflow of this storm as it's got that really tight wraparound inflow. It's kind of lessening up a little bit, but within that inflow is of course the heavy rain. We got some small hail mixing as well, probably about nickel size, I'd say nickel quarter size hail mixing in with this storm. But right now we're pushing northward. We're about 10 miles northish of Randolet, and we're trying to get out ahead. There's a little bit of a clear slot where we could be able to see into the storm. However, latest scan, it's closing up very quickly, so we're not going to be on the storm too much longer, just because there are still storms off to the south, so we'll watch it. But another thing with the storm is you're seeing right there in the street, the lightning. Oh my goodness, that lightning is absolutely wicked, and it is. We are watching underground lightning all across the screen right now. It is wicked out here right now. We're only in inflow, but it's a pretty gnarly storm, regardless of a tornado or not.
It is. It's certainly got a lot of energy in them. So, Jaden, you say tornado sirens and a holiday?
Yes, this has been reported in the NWS chat. Sirens being sounded in Holiday, Texas, due to observed rotation.
All right, so I think what they're seeing is the outflow boundary pushing over. There is no rotation down there on radar. I think what they're seeing is the outflow, and it can be easy. I hate to say that because you never know what emergency managers see. They may see something that I don't, but based upon the radar signatures here, there's absolutely no rotation down there. But if you look, you can see the outflow boundary pushing through. Okay, that little red line. I'm gonna stop it here. This little red line here, that is your outflow boundary. And remember, the outflow boundary rolls like this. So it can certainly be mistaken for a rotation, but there is no tornado threat in Holiday at this time. None. Zero. There could be some gusty winds there. There could be some heavy rain there pretty soon, but there is no tornado threat in Holiday right now. So if you're steering the sirens, I never tell anybody to ignore the sirens at all, because like I say, spotters may see something that we don't. But I suspect what they probably saw was the outflow boundary pushing through. I think that that's what they saw, and I think that that's why the sirens are being sounded. But this is based on radar, there is no tornado threat right now, and there is no tornado warning in effect for the Holiday area. So, again, if you're tuning in and you want to know what's going on in Holiday, they sounded the sirens because, somebody saw some, rotation there. But, again, I think that it was probably the outflow boundary that pushed on through. There's some thunderstorms that's going to be pushing through Holiday soon, but the worst of it's well north of Holiday.
And dime-sized hail has just been reported in Iowa Park.
Yeah, you can see that. You can see that on the radar here. You can see the dime-sized hail there, and that's the stronger part of the storm is kind of going on the northwest side of. Actually, it's going to just miss Wichita Falls. It wouldn't be surprising, though, if we did wind up seeing this thing try to wrap up, too, and maybe produce some brief spin-ups, maybe as it makes its way northeast there. I don't see anything over the city at this hour, at this time. Let me see if I can get any more of a better vantage point from our tower cam here in Wichita Falls. We're trying to, but, man, it is so hard to see anything out there today. You can, on a good clear day where you don't have all this moisture in place, you can see things pretty good. Yeah, it's a shelf. Where's that at?
Off of Taft.
That's just shelf cloud that you're seeing there. So somebody sent us a cloud picture from Taft, and I'm sure I've got a lot of cloud picture, but that's for what Jaden showed me was a a shelf cloud, and that is not tornadic. That is the outflow, the rain-cooled air pushing down out of the storm. So, Cameron, have you got a wall cloud there on your tower on your chaser shot there? Is that what that is?
Ken, no, this looks like it's more of an RFD setup that you're looking at right now. We're on the basically right in that kind of that dry slot from the storm right now, but it's closing off quickly. And if you look at velocity, it's not really doing a whole bunch right now. It's choking off its inflow. But I wouldn't be surprised if this were to try to recycle off to the east or southeast. But again, when it does that, it'll kind of be outside of Texoma, just about, not quite, but just about outside Texoma by the time it does that. So not too much to be seen on this right now. We're probably going to pull over. Chris, let's go ahead and pull over. We're going to go ahead and pull over now, and I'm going to hop out and get a little wet and look at the storm. But it's not too impressive. I think we're about to head back to Wichita Falls and keep an eye on those storms as well. But let's see if we're going to pull over. Give me like 30 seconds, Ken. If you want to take me again, I can give you a better response once I get out.
Picture there, though, of that, whatever that is there. I mean, like you say, from my vantage point, that looks scary, but of course, where you are, you probably have a better view of it there. And like you say, it's probably that kind of that shelf-looking cloud, I would imagine, as that's kind of pushing on through. There's Cameron getting out of the car, and he's walking over and trying to take a look at things. And so he just had his thumbs up. I'm not sure what the thumbs up was there for. Maybe he was doing that to Chris. I don't know. He's got his thumbs down now, so I don't know what that means either. So, all right, let's go back over to the radar here. I'm not sure what Cameron is doing, but we'll go back over to the radar. And, you still got that tornado warning up there. There's still a spin. There's still rotation, but it doesn't look like it's anything too significant to me at this time, all right? Down into Wichita Falls, we got some storminess about to move over us. As of right now, though, it looks like it's trying to rotate a little bit, but I just don't really see anything that shows signs of this being an imminent tornado producer. But we're going to have to watch this part of the storm down here, too, because there is a little weak rotation broad down there to the southwest and southwest of Burt Burnett, and that's moving right at Burt Burnett. So if you're at Burt Burnett, and especially on the east side, we're going to watch this area and make sure it doesn't try to spin up, because it certainly could. And Cameron, if I were you guys, of course, be careful driving in all that rain. I'd probably come on back down to the south and see what this storm moving through Burke and Wichita Falls is going to do. I think that that storm is probably will continue to maybe do little spin-ups from time to time up there, but I don't think that that's going to be anything major at this time. So let's focus perhaps on some of these storms down to the south and see what they do here for the remainder of the evening. And, as of right now, I think that we're really transitioning to more of a heavy rain, wind, and spin-up kind of tornado-type situation, but we can't completely let our guard down at all, that's for sure. Because even in these lines, you could definitely spin something up. Looks like a little hail headed towards Burt Burnett. So if you're in Burt Burnett, some hail is heading in your direction. There's a little shower over Wichita Falls. That is not severe, but that could get sucked into this updraft up there. And as that happens, then you can see, sometimes that can help push the thunderstorm too along. So just looking at the wind velocities, trying to determine, what's going on with the thunderstorms. As of right now, I'm not seeing anything that shows significant rotation over Wichita Falls, but I will say this, that it's trying to, and we certainly cannot let our guard down, because there's some broad rotation within this area of storminess that's pushing through. We've got a bit of what looks like probably some inflow trying out ahead of the storm, trying to wrap back in it up here. This is Howmet. I don't know why our radar. It's always it's the default in the system here. It says Arconic, but this is Howmet up here. But this is trying to wrap back into it. You've got your winds blowing out. You've got winds trying to suck back in. So what we would see if we were to see a tornado try to develop with this part of the storm, it would be a spin up. It would not be anything violent, I don't think. I think this would be kind of more of a brief spin up here. But we'll have to watch and see if these can try to come together. You might be seeing a little bit of some spinning down here, maybe on the northwest side of Wichita Falls. Let's see if we can, one more time, let's try our tower cam and see if there's any signs of anything there with that. All right, so that's a pretty good view. I can actually see that now. So here's what I want you to do, Jaden. Kind of move that camera a little bit. Go back to the left first. Start there. All right, now go back to the right. They definitely see a shelf cloud. Keep on going. Back to the right more. Back to the right more. So I do not see anything there that looks low to the ground at all. All that is going to be your shelf cloud there. That's exactly what that is. So that's good news. A shelf cloud represents winds pulling out of the thunderstorm or blowing out of the thunderstorm, and it really kind of inhibits a lot of good stuff blowing into it as well. But a lot of these storms have been wrapped in rain today, and things can still spin up in a moment's notice. We can't let our guard down by any means, but I think we're okay. Let's go back to the left a little bit, Jaden. I don't see anything in the way of any blocky-looking wall clouds here, anything like that. This all looks pretty much stretched out here. So what happens is, as this storm, and it looks like at least initially it kind of passes northwest of Wichita Falls, as it moves over you, you're going to get with it some gusty winds, and then you'll get some heavy rain and maybe some smaller hail. It doesn't look like huge hail with this, but maybe some smaller hail with it as well. So it looks like Cameron and them are probably headed back to the south. Is that correct, Jaden?
Yes, they are, Cameron. And Cameron, where are you headed to right now? And also tell us what you see. Of course, you're getting rained on pretty hard right now.
Yeah, Jade, we are coming back south. We're getting back across the river, go towards Burford first, and then once we get the river, kind of reevaluate from there. We're going to have to drive through some nasty weather to get through there. It's coming down pretty heavy, plenty of good lightning, and then we've had some pretty decent hail mixing in as well. Probably some, maybe up to ping pong size ball hail mixing in at times. But, the storm up here north of the Red River is not super impressive. It looks more of a wind right now. You got a bit more of a blowing segment on that storm now. But, so yeah, we're going to get back across the Red River, reevaluate from there, but we'll stop and work first. And like I said, at that point, we'll check it out. And when I was pointing at the camera, I was trying to point at the storm and say that it wasn't doing much. There's nothing to see. It's just the rain shaft, which is what we're driving through right now with some hail mixing in as well. But that's what we got going on here. We'll keep you updated as we continue to push east. We'll be back in Texas in about 15 to 20 minutes.
All right, so what I'm going to do now is, now that the storms, even though they're still strong, and we're still watching them, I'm going to jump off of CBS. We're going to go back over to regular programming there. Matter of fact, I'm going to jump off of the streaming and everything for just a few minutes so we can kind of regroup here and catch our breath now that everything's kind of quiet. But we will be doing updates on all platforms off and on throughout the evening. Be looking for us a lot on social media and on the 24/7 channel along with the app. But we're going to jump off. The threats are not as significant as they were. We're not letting our guard down. But we're going to jump off, and we're going to take a bit of a break, and we'll be back on streaming platforms and 24/7 channel and app coming up here in a few minutes.